Hey everyone, welcome back to the Castaway Consultants, where we teach future Survivor players how to play the game by critiquing current, former, and possibly future players. I am one of your three co-hosts, Derek Kubicek, and today we are going to be looking at episode 11 of season 50, Everyone Will Be Shooketh. And I'm a little shooketh tonight, only slightly shooketh, but I am joined by two co-stars or two co-hosts who are also maybe shooketh, Ryan Stacy and Josh Wessler. I wasn't actually that surprised tonight, but still, whenever things like tonight happen, they happen. How you doing?
I was a little shooketh by the twist, but not in a bad way.
Yeah.
I was shooketh, but more so from the results of Tribal. And I think that's all I'll say about it.
Yeah, no, we'll get into spoilers right now. And not for spoilers of the movie Heretic or any other movies, hopefully this time around. Sorry, dear listener who was planning on watching Heretic after our podcast. But spoiler alert in 3, 2, 1, we are losing Emily tonight. We are losing Ozzy tonight, idle in his pocket. But as has been the case the last couple episodes, I think we start tonight by litigating the twist.
Yeah, brand new twist.
And tonight we all watched separately just by pure happenstance. So like we haven't really heard how each other feel about the twist. So Josh, let's start with you. How'd you feel about this?
Immediate reaction was would trepidation be the right word?
Sure.
Because I was not sure. I was skeptical just because it's like, wow, 4 people on each tribe plus 1 who hops to both tribes. All he has to do is win immunity in order to get that power, and it's a lot of power. So that person has a lot of play in the game at a pivotal point where there's going to be essentially 2 final 5 votes going down here. But I think it worked. I think it worked out. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. And I think that has a lot to do with the players on the season. And it had to do with, oh, I need to get a message over to that side of the beach. How am I going to do this? And, are the breadcrumbs that I'm leaving going to be able to be picked up on by my alliance members? It was a fascinating situation that really had me locked into the episode. So I think all in all, successful twist.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I liked it. It was fun. I was having fun watching it. And that's kind of the key for a lot of this for me is like, did I enjoy watching it? Yes. Do the mechanics work? Yeah, I think so. It's a lot of power, but it's literally in the name, the Power Broker twist. The only way this episode I think could have been better is if Cirie had somehow managed to get the code word through Jonathan to Ozzy, and Ozzy learns to play the idol because of that. That would have been hilarious. So I was waiting for Cirie to be like, tell Rizzo banana. Or tell Rizzo I said this game is bananas, isn't it? He'll know what it means. And then Jonathan's like, yeah, I'm supposed to tell you that this game is bananas. And Rizzo's going to be like, oh, crap, I got to warn Ozzy. But Rizzo did know Ozzy was going home, so it didn't matter anyway. But that would have been fun if somehow Cirie had snuck in the code word.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe we'll get to it, but it almost seemed like because of the way that Jonathan and Joe approached Rizzo was like, wait, is Cirie okay with Ozzy going home then? That's kind of how I read into it when I was watching it. So I just feel like there was an accidental disconnect where Rizzo was supposed to be like, wait, Cirie definitely doesn't want that to happen. But we've had seeds of this where people are like, oh, we think we know what Cirie would want. And then they don't actually know what she would want.
Well, Cirie gave the thumbs up to Jonathan because she felt like she didn't have a choice.
No, right.
And Jonathan would have been, you told Joe that. We saw him tell Joe that. And I'm imagining that got passed on to Rizzo. So, yeah, because Cirie was in a corner, she kind of had to say she was okay with it. So Rizzo's like, I guess she's okay with it.
Right. But the idea would have been, Rizzo, save your ally. Right, like because Cirie is backed into a corner. How I felt about the twist, I actually, one thing, this season has had so many twists. I would have liked it a lot more if we hadn't just been coming off of like back to back to back to back twists. That said, let's look at this in a vacuum. I do like it. It reminded me of like a one-man, almost like a summit where he gets to go back and forth. And if it's not Jonathan, if there's a different player who finds themselves truly more on the middle, because Jonathan's definitely out in the wings. If you get a middle player here, they would be able to lean into that broker side of Power Broker in many interesting ways. I don't think Jonathan necessarily did that, but I think he maximized it as well as he could have. And I did like the twist. I would see this one again, or some iteration of it. So giving production flowers when we feel it's deserved, I thought this one worked well.
Yeah.
Reminder how many people we started the season with. So I
Yes.
understand the whole, back to back to back to back twists angle of it and being like, okay, there's a lot going on here. And, you could say the solution is to get rid of half at least of the celebrity cameos on the season. But, we knew that we were going to have to really get down there with double or triple even boots. But I think we're done with that now for the rest of the season. I think it's going to be pretty standard going forward.
Unless they choose to do a finale of 5 and then we do 2 more next week, which is possible, I suppose. But yeah, we're down to 7 now. We have done finales of 6 before. I don't know how it's going to go. It is like a 3-hour episode?
It's going to be long, so it better not be 5 people. There better be one other vote out in there because that's going to be long.
Now, all of this said, let's just let this play out. I'm cool. We've had enough twists. Let's be done.
The one actually big thing left is we don't know if Final Four firemaking is happening.
Correct.
So when it comes down to how many people are left going into the finale, I think that's going to be a big facet.
I'm annoyed that they don't know because how can you plan for it? But then again, at this point, you need to plan that it is there, and then maybe it won't.
You need to plan for both.
And they know that it was up for a vote.
Yeah.
So they know it's possible that it could not be there. So it's on them to plan for both.
Yes, exactly. Should we get into the episode?
Let's do it.
All right. Guys, I wish I could ever be as happy as Devins is at the beginning of this episode where he's just dancing around the island. Like, wow, that is a happy man. Good for him.
Pure bliss.
It's like
that's all I can describe it as.
It's like Jake O'Kane, except like dialed up to Rick Devins.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like I just did this amazing thing on Survivor.
Yeah.
It's like Jake O'Kane, except successful.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, poor Jake.
Sorry, Jake.
Jake O'Kane always looking for the silver lining. Meanwhile, Devins has kind of found the pot of gold. But like both of you can be happy.
He does discover his idol is only good until 7, so it's not a full usual idol. Which is with this twist is 2 tribal councils.
Mm-hmm. So it matters.
It matters. What is also really funny is how much Joe just hates Devins. He's just so fed up with Devins. What did Devins do?
He stood up to the man, truly. Like, the edit we got on 48 of Joe was so... I mean, Rosie in the way it was, and I'm not saying that Joe's a bad guy, but man, oh man, he is a sourpuss when the game is not going his way.
He cannot play from the bottom at all.
No, he can't. And the other thing is he feels like everybody needs to be as miserable as he is if he's miserable. I think he's not used to other people having conscious will.
Or fun at his expense.
Yeah, right. In relitigating, in my brain, season 48, I absolutely see why there's no way in a million years he would ever beat anybody like Kyle. And he shouldn't. And I think, and I was already around to that in that season as well. But I mean, this just solidifies it because now you can see how he was probably acting in the margins on season 48 when he wasn't getting as rosy of an edit.
Do you have a fork in Joe?
I do.
Okay.
I do have a fork in Joe. There's no way he's winning this game. I don't think there's anything he could possibly do.
It's too late now.
Yeah.
And I just really appreciate that all the people that he ends up, venting to kind of, I don't know if it was venting or if it was actually a gameplay move. Like, hey, like, I really didn't appreciate blah, blah, blah from Devins. And you get people like Suri and Aubrey. It's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't agree. And I love that they didn't just blanket agree with him, which is usually the right move on Survivor.
Yeah, I loved Aubrey and Suri's reaction. I could see myself doing something similar and being like, I don't know. Joe, I would not like to play with Joe. I'll put it that way.
I don't want to play with... I mean, I'd love for Joe to want to play with me, but I don't want to play with Joe, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Tiffany is worried that Ozzy and Rizzo both still have idols. She's going to talk to Suri about it, and we're going to get a flashback to Game Changers when Advantage Geddon happened. She wants to flush Ozzy's idol, and Suri reveals that she has a code word to give to Ozzy and Rizzo to play their idols if they need to, which is like, whoa, they really are tight.
Mm-hmm.
And did she share what the code word was?
No, I don't believe so.
Oh, because that, back to the beginning of this podcast, like that would have been perfect. If
I
it is banana.
I wonder if that's still just like a carrot because Rizzo's still here.
Yep.
So like the code word is still usable. Whatever that means. But it's an interesting situation now. Yeah, Suri obviously doing the callback that we've been saying since the beginning of the season. Suri trying to manage the hardware situation a little bit better because she feels like maybe the only thing standing in her way now is how some of these weird things could break.
Yeah. Suri's going to tell Ozzy that people are still targeting him. She thinks that, like, maybe, if Ozzy plays his idol, it's not the end of the world. He'll still be in the game. I still have him as an ally, but advantage is gone. Can't knock me out. Ozzy tells us he's going to play his idol. He even had a nightmare that he didn't play it and went home. And we have Ozzy the Prophet, Ostradamus.
Yeah, Ostradamus, yeah.
Predicting the future here.
Oops.
Well, and I mean, didn't, way back in just Survivor history, Cowboy had a dream.
Yep.
So, Ozzy boy.
Kat had a dream that Alicia murdered her in a shopping mall, and Alicia voted her out.
Yep.
Didn't murder her in a shopping mall yet, as far as we know. But, voting someone out of Survivor is pretty close.
I'm not saying that everyone should listen to their dreams on Survivor, but sometimes it is your subconscious talking to you. Ozzy, maybe you should have played your idol this time.
Maybe he should have.
I mean, I guess in hindsight, he definitely should have, but
not even in hindsight. Like, come on.
listen to it, Ozzy. And I mean, now Ozzy's going to be sitting on the jury bench, and the last thing that he heard from Suri is people are still talking about you. You should probably play your idol. Not only will his dream be banging around in his head, but I think Suri's words will be as well.
Dude, he's going to be so pissy on the jury when he walks in next episode. Oh, man, he's going to be just livid.
I mean, I've loved Ozzy this season, but when he got voted out, he did turn into a little bit of a Polly Prissy Pants.
Ozzy is for a jungle survivor, man. He is really a Polly Prissy Pants.
I just hope he's angry at himself and not other people.
I think it's both.
I think it's both.
I really do think it's both. Like, yeah, I messed up, but you guys are jerks.
He has a lot of processing to do.
As long as he's not mad at Aubrey, I don't really care. He has no right to be mad at Aubrey.
No, absolutely not.
We're going to go to the immunity challenge. We're told winner is going to get an advantage. We don't know what it is yet. Tiffany wins immunity. However, we're going to have production do a play-by-play analysis to determine that Tiffany did not actually lift her leg up when she was supposed to, very clearly. Like, this is one of those calls where you watch it back on the big Jumbotron. You're like, oh, yeah. Even if it's your team who made the mistake, you're like, yeah, I can't even pretend to argue that one. It's one of those.
Now, alternate universe, they go back to the tape, and there's not enough to overrule Tiffany's win. Does it change the Ozzy vote? The Emily vote, I think, is exactly the same, but does it change the Ozzy vote?
I don't know if it does, because I feel like Tiffany and Jonathan
kind of on the same page.
Will was pretty much the same across the board.
Yeah, and Tiffany probably wants to get rid of an Ozzy so that she's closer to Suri. Yep. So I wanted to tease that a little bit, but I'm not so sure it would have been all that different.
I think it would have been interesting though, because Suri probably would have been a lot more open with her because they talked at the beginning of the episode. They're on the same page where they want that idol to be burned, but it might be a two birds one stone thing where you can get the idol to be burned and also still get Aubrey or Jonathan, if he's over there, however it ends up looking, you can still get someone else out while still having that connection in Ozzy.
So Tiffany gets DQ'd. So Jonathan, who got second, he gets the immunity. So they're going to get randomly divided into two groups of 4, 2 tribal councils, 2 people going home. Jonathan wins the right to go back and forth between the 2 groups, be both tribal councils, vote at both tribal councils, but is immune at both. So this is one heck of a win.
One heck of a win, and especially for someone in Jonathan's position. I think we all had him near the bottom of our power rankings. So still has a shot to win, but has work to do. And you're in a power position like this. This is kind of Jonathan's make or break moment in order to steer the game in the direction that he needs to in order to actually win.
Yeah. The green group is Tiffany, Emily, Suri, and Devins. The purple group is Joe, Ozzy, Rizzo, and Aubrey. So starting with the green group, Suri wants to protect herself, obviously. She has an extra vote, which she is considering playing. But who do we land on? Devins has the idol. So is it just going to be default Emily? Because her closest ally in this group is Tiffany, so she wants to protect herself and Tiffany. If Devins has an idol, that leaves Emily. She's not exactly the most trustworthy ally. She's the most expendable. Fair enough. Emily's plan is to tell all of them, like, hey, I think I can get Devins to play the idol on me. So we can vote Devins out, and he'll idol himself out of the game. She tells everybody this. But then she tells Devins, like, hey, this is what I told them. You keep your idol, you play it on yourself. Hopefully all the votes will be on you, and we idol Suri out of the game. And this is almost brilliant. This almost works. Unfortunately, they don't know about Suri's extra vote. This is why you keep advantages hidden and keep them to yourself. So when pen hits the paper, you have the upper hand. And that's why Suri is able to beat Emily and Devins in this round, is because she has this extra vote that they don't know about.
Yeah, this is so interesting because I want to know if we were showing everything by editors. And let's fast forwarding to the end. I want to know if Suri talked to like Jonathan to clue him in on the fact that she had an extra vote. I know Aubrey tells Jonathan on the other beach, but like, was the eventual like split basically between Emily and Devins intentional by everyone, or did Suri take this into her own hands for insurance purposes? Because I think that changes a lot of things, whether or not Emily takes this or Devin takes the hit, or however that would play out. So I would like a little bit more information on it. But as far as Emily goes, I liked her creativity.
I was just gonna say, you got to do what you can, and Emily, I think she did learn, I guess, the correct lesson that you can't become complacent on Survivor. For all the negative things I've had to say about Emily's game, you can't say that she wasn't doing anything. And that comes with all the good and all the bad that bears out in her game. We had her near the bottom. At least Ryan and I had her, I think, in cannot win territory.
Bottom three.
Or bottom three. So at least she can go out knowing that she did everything that she felt she could do. I don't think she was playing hard, very much a winning game. But targeting Suri here is good for her. It's good for everybody. It's good for Devins. And obviously it keeps her around. Yeah, there's a chance it would have worked. I still think that if there wasn't an extra vote, the votes would have piled on Emily, because everyone knows that now Devins, he doesn't need any more big moves to get votes at the end. He needs to survive. Self-preservation would have motivated him to play that idol for himself. So I don't think that it would have done much. I think it went down as planned.
Was there room here for Emily to try to work with Jonathan to get out a Suri?
Yes.
Jonathan, I know, seems to want to work with Suri, but he should be smart enough to see that Suri is the biggest, if not one of the biggest threats in the game. You could target Devins or Emily, but if you're scared of the idol from Devins, then I think you have a compelling argument to get the vote off of you and onto the biggest threat of that group of 5, at least.
If I'm Jonathan and I have immunity, and we have very similar physique, so
yes,
so
yeah, you and Jonathan,
we're similar in that way, at least. No, but if I'm Jonathan, I have immunity here. I think my plan is let's put the votes on Devins, and try and get him out of the game. I'm not scared of the idol because I'm not going home, and if he idles 3 out of the game, that's great. It's the enemy of the state strategy. I've preached it for a long time now on this podcast, and I continue to do so because I think it's effective. And as a reminder, Enemy of the State is a movie, a Will Smith movie from 99, 2000, somewhere around there. Go check it out. It's worth watching. It's a really good movie. And I think there's some Survivor strategy to be gained from watching that movie. So that's some homework for everybody, is watch that movie.
Spoilers for Enemy of the State. I'm just kidding.
That's why I didn't go into it.
Yeah.
But Enemy of the State is something that's been brought up before in the Rewind series, because I based this strategy off the finale of that movie. So go watch the movie. You'll understand.
By the way, if anyone leaves a comment that I was just about to watch Enemy of the State tonight,
I won't believe you.
I don't believe you. Said nobody in the world in 2026.
It's a movie that's aged incredibly well.
Oh, it's a great movie. It's a really good movie.
I should rewatch it. I watched it once, years ago, and I remember just some, stuff with like surveillance, and that's it.
Yeah, it's a surveillance.
That's it.
Thriller. Will Smith, late Gene Hackman. It's a great movie. So Jonathan's going to be going back and forth between the two beaches to pass information on, try and influence the votes. So we're going to go to the Green Tribal Council, where Devins will play the idol on himself. 2 votes for Devins, 2 votes for Emily, 2 votes for Suri. Tie vote. We revote. 4 votes for Emily, 2 votes for Suri. This might have been a good opportunity, I think, to flip. If I'm Jonathan, Devins plays his idol, he's safe, and now we're tied between Emily and Suri. I might flip onto Suri at this point. Just because, she's a bigger threat than Emily. So I think this might have been a good time to flip onto Suri.
I agree. So, I mean, if we're talking about if the right person went home, the wrong person went home. We just got done talking about how Jonathan, he wins this immunity, and he has a chance to go with immunity and impunity. By the way, if I ever get on Survivor and I win when I should be going home, I'm going to say it's immunity with impunity. Steal
and
that.
Then that's gonna be an episode title.
Immunity with impunity. You're darn right it will be. He can go and take a huge swing now. We have Emily ahead of him, but if he pulls off a big move like this, he can absolutely pass Emily as someone who can win. He's not planning on taking out Joe, and he knows that Joe is safe on the other side. Flip on Suri, go with Emily and Devins. Devins, I think, was being 100% truthful because, Jonathan says, I think that Devins and I realized that we can't work together in this game. This is why Jonathan will lose this game. Because Devin says, I don't know, we're about to be at 7. I think there's a world where me and Jonathan can come back together and find a way to work forward. Jonathan, he's like trying to burn the bridge, and it wasn't even a smokescreen. If it's a smokescreen to get out Suri, that's a great smokescreen because it's believable. But I think he was serious. Suri needed to go here because Emily and Devins will work with you, and you can beat Emily. So this was wrong and a very hugely missed opportunity by Jonathan.
I love the result. I love that Devins is still in the game. I love that Suri is still in the game. To me, both Tiffany and Emily were expendable as far as entertainment purposes go. But it's the wrong move. This absolutely should be Suri. And Derek has been... And I know all three of us, but I know Derek specifically has been saying it essentially every episode that going forward, if Suri doesn't go home, then it was the wrong move. And I think that 100% applies here. You only have one person who should, and that's very lightly saying should be trying to keep Suri in the game with Tiffany, and that's it. So, the extra vote doesn't even really matter because you could tie it up and then you could revote and tie it up again. And then, then she doesn't vote and then you can take her out. So definitely should be Suri here.
I want to add one more piece because Jonathan had an opportunity to have his cake and eat it too. He hates Devins to a certain extent. He's frustrated by him. All you have to do is go to Emily and Devins and play it a little cagey. And then Devins will play his idol, burning the idol, and then you do go with Suri. Because then Suri goes home, Devins' idol is burned, and Devins and Emily will be working with you, and they'll be forced to work with you because Devins doesn't have an idol anymore. So, he could have had it both ways.
Yep.
Man, when Jonathan, big fan of this podcast, when he listens to this episode, he's going to think, wow, biggest missed opportunity of the game right there.
It was a big one. Like I said, enemy of the state.
That $2 million move, perhaps.
Okay, so let's move over to purple. We'll rewind the clock here a little bit. It starts with Aubrey being the obvious person going home because Ozzy, Joe, and Rizzo are seemingly tight, as is Jonathan. So Ozzy's going to take Aubrey aside and basically reveal how he's done all of this, and that he's a magician revealing his secrets before he even did the trick. Ozzy says, I'm super tight, day one alliance with Suri, I'm going to the end with her, I even gave her my extra vote. Basically, his plan is to make Aubrey feel good on her way to the jury. It does not work at all. Aubrey sees right through everything he's doing and does not appreciate it. So she's going to use all of this, tell it all to Rizzo and Joe and eventually Jonathan in hopes of knocking Ozzy out of the game. And it's going to end up working. It's a little more complicated than that, but Aubrey really blows up his spot, deservedly so.
Whether or not Aubrey blows up the spot, it doesn't matter. He gave her some ammunition and she used it, and she's going to get a lot of credit for that, even if Jonathan thinks that he's kind of the mastermind pushing the Ozzy agenda because he's the one who went and got Suri, the godmother's blessing, to go and pull this move off.
Only hiccup is Joe, because Joe really wants Aubrey out. and he doesn't want to make this move against Ozzy without Rizzo. And they don't know if they can bring in Rizzo because Rizzo and Ozzy are tight. So Jonathan goes back across the way to talk to Cirie about it. And Cirie, who's kind of in a corner, is like, yeah, sure. No, please no. But she doesn't really have a choice. Like, yeah, sure, I guess you can go for Ozzy. And they're going to. So Jonathan tells Joe this. Joe tells Rizzo. And Rizzo, who has heard that Ozzy has just kind of revealed all the tricks pretty much, Rizzo's like, I guess I can let Ozzy go. So that's what's going to happen. Ozzy doesn't play his idol. It's 4 votes for Ozzy, 1 vote for Aubrey. Ozzy done goofed.
It's worth mentioning, because we just kind of glazed over it. There's a chance, like, if Cirie does not relent to Jonathan's plan, that Jonathan would have maybe then turned on her, because then he sees that Ozzy is the preferred alliance member. So good on Cirie in that regard for letting Ozzy go in this instance. You know, she's trying to get something to happen over there to get the code word to him, trusting that Rizzo might be able to understand what she would want to happen. Obviously, that doesn't happen, and even if Rizzo did figure it out, he maybe wanted Ozzy out and was just looking for a reason. Oh, look, all of this confusion, stuff up in the air. Jonathan told me you said it was okay. Like, so, I mean, Rizzo has plausible deniability. Unfortunately, I don't think we ever are going to get to know what his true opinion was. We just kind of got that he was willing to go along with it.
Maybe at the beginning of the next episode, we get a conversation between Cirie and Rizzo and we learn a little more.
Maybe. But yeah, like you said, Ryan, Ozzy, he done goofed. He should have listened to that dream.
I think Cirie did about as much as she could here, just because, you know, we got her saying, you know, the only way that I can communicate with Rizzo is through Jonathan. So if I can get Jonathan to tell Joe, to tell Rizzo that it's going to be Ozzy, and get them all to clue each other in on the vote, then it's out of my hands and it's up to Rizzo. It's up to Rizzo to make that decision on whether or not he wants Ozzy to go home. And we get to that point. We get Rizzo saying, is this what Cirie wants? And is this the right move? So I think everything worked out as well as it could have for her. It just ended up being someone else's decision in the end.
Yep, and that's Survivor sometimes. So did the right person go home? No. I mean, Ozzy is the right target, but he should have played his idol and knocked out Aubrey. So it should have been Aubrey if everyone played optimally.
It's the reason I get a little bit hung up is Jonathan can't beat Ozzy. Joe can't beat Ozzy. I don't think that Rizzo can beat Ozzy either. They all have a chance right now to beat Aubrey, unless there's some stuff going on that I just don't understand. Because Aubrey hasn't played much of a game, but she's at least seemingly likable. People have warmed up to her. She definitely seems like the longer you spend with her, like, she comes out of her shell, and then you can both be genuine, authentic friends. So she's got that going for her, and that's not nothing on a season that seems to have a lot of bad blood. So I don't mind Ozzy as the target. The unfortunate thing is, if you've got, like, Coach sitting on the jury and he watches you be this loyal person betray Ozzy, you might lose Coach's jury vote too. But I also don't want to do the Ozzy thing here and over jury manage. So I think I agree with you, Ryan, that everyone still should target Ozzy and Cirie on the other side. And Aubrey goes home because Ozzy listened to his dream and saved himself.
This one was fascinating, and we haven't even really talked about, I think, the biggest part yet. Because to me, whether or not the right person went home or not comes down to Rizzo. And whether or not it was the right decision for him to tell Ozzy or not tell Ozzy. And this is where I was just racking my brain after the episode for a long time. And I think I came to the conclusion that the wrong person went home, because I think it was the right move for Rizzo to tell Ozzy to play the idol. Whether or not he can beat Ozzy in the end, I think we talked a little bit last week about legend status, and if Ozzy can get to the end, you know, he might not be able to beat Cirie, but he should be able to beat most other people, just because it's like, wow, look at Ozzy. He made it all the way to the end, and, you know, this is just his big old Survivor story arc. And for Rizzo, even though he might not be able to beat Ozzy at the end, he still needs to get to the end. And I think that it is more important than just this one vote on whether or not Ozzy sticks around or goes home here. I think that he's going to need to have a little bit more agency, to use Emily's words, a little bit more agency in this game. And it felt like he just kind of took the step back and let this vote happen. He decided to let the vote happen, but I don't think that that's going to have any sort of value when it comes to final tribal council if he gets there and explaining a strategic move like this, like, oh yeah, like I let Ozzy go. I think that it'd be better for Rizzo to get Ozzy to play the idol, take out whoever, if it's Aubrey, whatever, it doesn't really matter, but then take swings at both Suri and Ozzy here in the next couple of votes to take them out, just to be able to put a stamp on the game and be able to actually get votes in the end. So all that being said, I think that the wrong person went home, but it was ultimately Rizzo's decision.
Josh, I think you're right, but the question I need to know who does Rizzo want to go to the end with? Because if Rizzo's thinking now, if I let Ozzy go here and I go to the end with like Jonathan and Joe, maybe that's a winning game for Rizzo. I think he made the wrong move, and he would have been smart to, get Ozzy's hardware out of here in case you do want to get rid of him at some point, and I think Rizzo will have to do that. But you still keep him around as a tool for you and with someone you have a working relationship with. So yeah, I think Rizzo made the wrong call. Now, what did social media think? Did they say the right person, wrong person went home?
As always, when there's a double boot, we end up giving 4 options for all the different scenarios that you can come up with. And the winning option is that social media thinks that the right person went home in the first tribal and the wrong person went home in the second tribal.
They just love Suri.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, should we get into best and worst players of the episode?
One last thing, just with Ozzy.
Okay.
Man, his exit, I felt that. I know that like he's a mixture of emotions with being upset at himself or being betrayed by other people who just casted these votes. But I feel like he just felt a full range of, oh my gosh, I just did this again. I'm probably never going to play Survivor. I had the opportunity to actually get to the end again, and now I'm standing here. And it's like he didn't want to walk away because he knew that once he actually gets his torch snuffed and walks away, that his Survivor career is over. And it just, I could really feel that come through on the TV. So it was just powerful.
Bummer, dude.
Yeah. Now, I know we would usually do best and worst, but Ryan, do you want to explain your new winner pick? Because it was kind of weird tonight.
I guess I can do my new winner pick now, just because it was kind of weird tonight. Yeah, that's fair. So my winner pick was Emily. She went home in the first tribal council. I made my new winner pick between the two. I immediately texted both these guys my new winner pick.
We have it in writing.
I'm going to go with Aubrey. I knew she was still in danger going into this next tribal council, but I just have this sinking suspicion that Aubrey's going to win this game, and I don't really want it to happen, but if it's going to happen, I'm going to be right. So I'm going to win either way. Either I called my shot here, or I'm wrong and I'll be happy. So Aubrey's my pick.
I like how you're hedging your emotional health on this. Now you're thinking like a finance major, Ryan.
And so you guys both have Devins still, correct?
Yes, I have Devins.
Yep. All right, let's get into best and worst player of the episode. Derek, start us off. Remember, 2 people went home. There's 2 best and worst slots available.
Yeah, I'll pick the obvious one, at least who I think is an obvious one. I'm going to start with Suri because it should have been her. I think she made the right move in letting Jonathan kind of dictate what was happening on the other side with Ozzy while still trying to communicate with her allies what she saw happen. It should have been her going, but obviously she placated to Jonathan enough, made him feel comfortable enough that he decided to take out Emily inexplicably, even though Jonathan can still beat Emily and has no chance in beating Suri at anything other than an immunity challenge. So everything that Suri did here, I think, paid a lot of dividends. And then, of course, she used the extra vote, whether or not it was a secret or a planned thing. She used it to save herself and prevent there from being any kind of split vote shenanigans in trying to help Jonathan take out a primary target in Devins. And for my other best, I have Aubrey. She exploited the cracks as best she could and made her case, and then just kind of let those other pieces fall to the wayside, very Ethan Zahn-esque. And ultimately, she's still here. She shouldn't be, and she is. So I've got Aubrey and Suri.
100% agree on Suri. That's the big obvious one. I think she played everything perfectly and she made that decision. Whether or not she include other people in on the extra votes or not, it was a great read on her part to be able to recognize, yeah, this motivation might not actually make sense with what Emily is trying to communicate. So absolutely, Suri. The one I'm hung up on, I kept bouncing back and forth on this between Aubrey and Jonathan for the second one, and it comes down to who had more say in the actual push for Ozzy to go home. I couldn't really tell during the episode. I was leaning towards Jonathan a little bit more, but then just talking through it and thinking about, man, like Suri was really communicating through Jonathan, and how much say did he actually have? Like, he wanted to get Ozzy out, but was it going to happen regardless of him pushing this through? I think I'm going to lean towards Aubrey on it, but it's close.
Josh, I pretty much had the same mentality as you, with Suri being the obvious one. And then between Jonathan and Aubrey, I ended up going Jonathan, though. Just when I weighed everything out, Jonathan won immunity. He blindsided Ozzy. He flushed Devin's idol. Knock against him. I do think he should have flipped on Suri. Aubrey helped blow up Ozzy's game, but then after that, it seemed like it was a little bit out of her hands. So yeah, I thought it was a tight race between those two for second place, but I'm going to give it to Jonathan with an honorable mention to Aubrey.
The two tiebreakers for me of Aubrey over Jonathan, one, like you mentioned, I think it would have been right for him to take out Suri on the one side, but then also, and this is where I disagreed with you guys and our listeners, I have Aubrey below Jonathan in my power rankings from last week. So the choice to take out potentially Ozzy versus Aubrey, like I think that there's more gain from Aubrey here than from Jonathan, if that makes sense.
Let's get into worst players. Josh, start us off.
I had Joe because it's just very obvious that he can't win the game. Nothing new here, but I think everyone's just mentality behind like, oh yeah, Joe's just kind of there. I don't think Joe's name is going to come up again really as a potential vote out. I know it did briefly by Devins. I don't think he was serious when he actually said that. As mentioned by myself last week, I think that Joe is going to be a 0 vote third place finalist. That's just Joe. The other one that I had here is Rizzo, because I think that it was in Rizzo's best interest to clue Ozzy in on the vote and to have him play his idol, have that burned, get out someone like an Aubrey, still have Ozzy as an alliance member at Final 7, and be able to have the agency to take him out yourself, and a big resume move.
I only gave out one because I thought Joe, he's tough to work with, but he did get Rizzo on board with this plan, which I thought was against Rizzo's best interest. So my worst player is Rizzo. He's the only one I got. I just think he made the wrong move.
I do have two worst. Rizzo's the easy one, and I think it's because he should have clued Ozzy in on the vote. But my other one is Jonathan, because I think the choice to not take out Suri here is actually a $2 million mistake by Jonathan. I know that there's time, but this was his chance to take out two legends of the game. And here's the thing. Let's say that Ozzy walks in and sees Suri on the bench, realizes that he's in danger, and the vote shifts to Aubrey. At least Suri is gone, and Ozzy with not a strategic bone in his body, and Rizzo without any agency with any returners in the game. They're free agents, and Jonathan is now in a position with a couple free agents and with a little bit of flexibility to move forward. And I also don't like that he tried to burn a bridge with Devins. He didn't need to do that. Like, he's like, yeah, well, the game has just decided that Devins and I are going to be enemies now. Dude, you realize Devins is playing his idol. You have immunity. You have to find some level of working relationship. So I have Jonathan as worst because I think he genuinely missed a golden opportunity. And I almost think that he's too prideful that if he listened to this, he'd be like, no, Derek, you don't understand. I had it all under control, and I was right. And that is why Jonathan will not win Survivor.
Okay. Interesting. Let's get into who's going next. I'm just going to make it simple. I think Rick Devins is done. Idol's gone. He's gone.
At this point, this is more me playing for what... I'm just desperate for these players to wise up. I don't want it to happen, but I have Suri going next because it has to happen. She's got to go. She's got to go, man. She's got to...
Yeah, the other part about why this was a mistake for Rizzo is, Suri does need to go home for him, but I don't think that he's going to control when that actually happens. And I think that's going to be this next vote. I think that everyone's going to finally wise up on the fact that Suri, the biggest threat in the game, is still here and needs to go home. And my prophecy that I've been foretelling basically this entire time is that Suri is going to go home at 7, and we're at 7. So they're going to set her free to be, still forever a legend that has not won the game of Survivor. It's going to be super sad, but it's the right move.
Okay. We will see. It sounds like blood is going to spill badly next week.
I really do hope that you're wrong, Ryan. I want Devins to survive, and I am
I mean, so do I. I want Devins and Suri to survive.
I am so Gosh, yeah, Devins and Suri in the final 3. How could we be so blessed?
But Devins not having his armor anymore, he's done.
Yeah, I think so too. I will say, I think that it would be wise for people to start thinking about Jonathan a little bit more, just because of his friends on the jury.
Pish posh applesauce.
I know. No, I'm not saying, wait, take out Jonathan before Suri and Devins, but
Jonathan has just as many friends as he has enemies. There's several people on that jury and who are still in the game who will never vote for him.
I think Ozzy is one of them.
I don't know about Ozzy, but Dee is on the jury, and she's the mayor of Ponderosa. She will never vote for Jonathan.
Yeah, but there are like 3 people right after her who I think will champion for him.
2. Coach and
cancel
Chrissy.
out.
All right, let's get into our rank downs, jank downs, dank downs, and lank downs. Tell us about the listener lank downs.
Yeah, so from last week, there's a little bit of movement. So we had Suri still at the top of the listener lank downs at number 1. Much like the rest of us, they had Devins going up a couple of spots. They had him at the 2nd spot, replacing Ozzy, who dropped down to 3rd, and then Rizzo in 4th, followed by Aubrey in 5th, Tiffany in 6th. Both of them leapfrogged Jonathan, who fell down to 7th in their rank downs. And then at the bottom, no change for the listeners. The 2 people who cannot win, they had Emily and Joe. So going to be a new person who can't win for the listeners.
Yeah. We'll get those picks in, get us your rank downs, and we'll keep on trucking.
And perhaps the most interesting thing to me is that Suri is no longer unanimously number 1. Yep. Some people do have Devins above her now. And Joe was 1 away from being unanimously at the bottom. So we still have these really solid bookends.
Derek, dank it up. What's your dank down?
Yep. So I am not changing what I'm doing at the top here. I still have Devins at number 1, followed by Suri. But now rising in the ranks because of what happened and some bitterness on the jury, I have Aubrey at number 3 now, followed by Rizzo. Tiffany and Jonathan and Joe are my 2 cannot wins, because in a final 3 of Tiffany, Jonathan, and Joe, I think Tiffany is by far the most likable, and I'm starting to sense, we've been talking about it for 4 weeks now, bad blood, and people are going to be like, who didn't hurt me? And Tiffany hasn't really hurt anybody. So,
all right, for my jank downs, I'll keep it easy. I have no changes. Let's take out Ozzy and Emily from the equation, and everyone else just falls in place. So to recap, no one is moving in front of anyone. I have Suri at the top, followed by Devins. I do still have Rizzo in that 3rd spot. This is assuming that he can get to the end without Suri and Devins, followed by Tiffany, Jonathan, Aubrey, and Joe. I'm standing by the fact that I don't think Aubrey can win this game. She got through this vote, but honestly, it was more that Ozzy played poorly, and the vote seemed to be heavily influenced by both Jonathan and a decision by Rizzo, and kind of this, pushed along with Suri a little bit. So yeah, Aubrey's here. She can still win, but there's got to be a lot that still happens in order for her to leapfrog, I think, Jonathan.
So I have no change. I just yoinked the 2 people eliminated out of my rank downs, and I actually had the exact same one as Derek. Devins, Suri, Aubrey, Rizzo, Tiffany, Jonathan, Joe.
God, I just don't see it. I just don't see it.
Josh, you have glasses.
And also the other big update. So I've got 1 fork stuck in Joe. I am so abhorred with Jonathan's missed opportunity. I'm sticking a fork in Jonathan. Okay. I'm not. There is a world where he still wins the game, but if the opportunity smacked him in the face, I don't think he'd see it. So I am sticking a fork in Jonathan. He will not win this game. I'm not saying he can't. I'm saying he will not.
Okay. The last thing we got to do is check in with the survivor pool. So, Josh, where are we at?
Shockingly, we only lost one person this week. To recap, for myself last week, I had picked Tiffany, and Tiffany did not go home. So all of our other listeners had a smattering of players out there that they're picking. And, people are getting down to their last couple. And somehow, Philip on Spotify was the only person to go home after picking Emily this week.
Well, rest in peace, Philip. Thanks for playing.
Rest in peace, Philip. Thank you for playing. As for me, me along with several other listeners that I know are down to the last person, and that is Joe. So I'm going with Joe, and I will probably tie with some listeners out there. I might beat some listeners out there who are out of players, but I do know that there's a couple listeners out there who have more than one player. So don't mess it up. It's yours for the taking. Pressure's on.
End game now. We're in the end game now. All right, well, everyone get your picks and get your like downs in, and then thanks for playing along, even if you got eliminated long ago. We still appreciate it. All right, I think we had a couple of listener questions, right?
Yeah, a couple that came through. From Niall Toll on Spotify, asks, if you could design a twist/advantage for a future season, what would it be? Also, what do you think of mine? At the tribe swap, one player gets a note in their buff saying at the upcoming reward challenge, they can swap one player on one tribe with another person on a different tribe, essentially swapping their places. I think that this could create interesting strategy, save your allies, or target an enemy across tribes, especially on returner seasons. Note they can use it on themselves.
Swap tribe could be interesting, something to give you an advantage during the swap or mix things around a little bit. That could be interesting. The advantage that I pitched long ago, back during COVID, was if we were going to not be able to film in Fiji, I pitched doing an Old West Survivor season. And my advantage was the Golden Lasso, which you could play pre-merge. You could lasso someone over to your winning tribe. If your tribe won immunity, you could lasso someone over to your tribe, effectively giving them immunity and just pulling them out of safety without power, but possibly against their will. So the Golden Lasso is my idea.
Yeah, I like it. First of all, this is just Jeff Probst looking for ideas for free. So if you want all of my best ideas, you'll have to hire me to the production team, or at least to the meetings. I do have a list of Survivor ideas out there that I'd like to pitch, but I will give one that I think is more for my entertainment and also because I'm curious. I would love for Mystery Adventure Island, the very first person who goes, the advantage is an advantage in the form of information. They get a note that says, there are no idols this season. You have to burn this. And all it is that they know that there are no idols this season. And then the next person who goes to Mystery Adventure Island, they get something that says there will be one advantage this game that manipulates the votes. Burn this note so no one can see it. And that's it. Because now if they have to go back and try and tell everyone that there's not going to be any idols and no one's going to believe them and there's not going to be proof. And then if you do any more Mystery Adventure Islands, it's not going to be the same information. It's going to be something completely unrelated that also reduces our twists and advantages in hardware basically to old school Survivor. And I think it would be so funny to watch new schoolers try and play old school Survivor just once, that this would be strictly for my entertainment.
I'm not much of an idea, man. So instead of creating a new one, I'm going to bring back an old one. And I'm going to go with the Medallion of Power.
Yeah, the greatest advantage of all time.
I would love them to bring back also the Mutiny again. Like Mutiny and Medallion of Power, yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
God, oh man, I would love the Mutiny to come back just to see what happened.
Okay, well, thank you for the question.
Yeah, thank you. And then from RM26 on Spotify asks, do we think that this was the final celebrity twist? And this was after the Mr. Beast coin flip last episode. Or have they been holding on to one for this late in the game?
They better be done.
I would imagine that it's done. And we haven't been teased anything else. There hasn't been any hint in any sort of trailers or preseason thing or upcoming still on the season. So I would be shocked if we still had another cameo come along.
I got a pitch for you guys. I would accept one more celebrity guest appearance. Barack Obama comes on and gives somebody the presidential pardon, and then whoever goes home has to say, thanks, Obama.
Except it's that one guy from that one season who looks like Obama.
Oh, Peter,
Dr. Peter.
Dr. Peter, Minnesota's own.
Minnesota's own. So, yes, Barack Obama comes and gives the presidential pardon, and somebody says, thanks, Obama. If you do that, just because I called the shot, I'll allow it, but I hope we're done.
Celebrity-wise, I don't think that there is, but we did talk about the Final Four fire making is still up in the air as far as a fan vote goes, and I also wouldn't be surprised if there was, some other twist still waiting to come out.
Sure. All right. Anything else, guys? I think that about wraps it up.
I think that wraps it up for tonight.
Yeah. Thanks for all the questions. Make sure to submit them if you're ever wondering about anything.
Yeah. And again, get your picks and your link downs in. All right. Well, this has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got nothing else for you.
Good night.